guys, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, hello, welcome. I am so happy you decided to stop by today. And I know it has been a hot minute since I've come on here and said those words, and I'm sorry. I was taking a break from YouTube, but it was not supposed to be this long. There was just a lot of things happening and I couldn't juggle everything. But I'm not even gonna get on that topic because I would be here for like 3 hours just explaining to you guys what in the world has happened in my life. I am here today to talk about one of the major changes that has happened in my life recently. And if you couldn't tell by the title of this video or from my Instagram, my Twitter, Facebook, the news, literally everywhere, I am Miss Louisiana USA 2020. It's still so crazy for me to say those words. It has been a really crazy journey thus far. Really what this video is about is my journey to the crown and my experience with competing in pageants and how I got to where I am today and all of that good stuff that you guys have been dying to know on my Instagram. So first things first, because I know I'll probably get a lot of questions, my ponytail is from insert name here. I will link it down below if you guys are interested in checking it out. So let's just go ahead and get started with this video. I will insert pictures and videos at any point in time if I feel like it'll help me tell the story a little bit. So let's just start with my history of competing in pageants. I've never been a pageant girl, never been a girly girl really ever. My whole entire life I was an athlete. I played tennis, volleyball, softball, track, literally everything under the sun. I was such an athlete and a tomboy, and I never thought that I would ever compete in a pageant. My older sister, Shelby, she is the girly girl. She was a cheerleader. She did the pageant. She was a gymnast and all that kind of stuff. So she was very into that. So in 2014, my sister Shelby decided that she was going to compete for the title of Miss Baton Rouge. And for some reason, she wanted me to compete with her. I don't know why. I was 18 at the time. I was going to be in the teen division and she was going to be in the Miss division. She just, I guess, wanted to share this experience with me. I told her no a lot of times and I was like, no, this is stupid. I do not want to do that. But eventually I gave in, I guess, because I just wanted to do the experience with her. So fast forward to the pageant, she ends up winning and I end up getting second runner-up. And I was happy with that. I was like, I actually did something. I wasn't expecting to place at all. So it was a very big surprise for me to get second runner-up. Never was interested in doing another pageant after that, really. I had just started college. I was playing volleyball. So pageants were the last thing on my mind. The following year, 2015, when my older sister Shelby went to give up her crown as Miss Baton Rouge, I was of course there to support her. But as I was sitting in the audience, I was looking at these girls and for some reason, I just had this urge to want to compete again. I don't know why. I don't know where it came from. I was just like, I can see myself doing that. I can literally do what they're doing. I told my sister after the pageant, I was like, hey, I think I want to compete again. So she was so excited. She was like, yes, I can finally have my way with you. So turns out there was a pageant the next week, a prelim pageant, Miss Florida Parishes, and I signed up for that. And I literally prepared for that pageant in a span of a week. I got my evening gown, my interview, I learned my stage routine, all that good stuff in a week's time. So I go to this pageant, I'm super nervous, and I end up winning. And that was a shocker, I think, to everyone. Because it was just how did this girl just come from here out of nowhere and beat all of us? You know what I'm saying? A very surprising but happy moment. And I remember that moment like it was yesterday. So since I won the title of Miss Florida Parishes in 2015, I went on to compete for Miss Louisiana USA the first time. And I end up making the top 15, which again was such a shocker to me because I'm these girls have been doing this for years and I'm up here competing with them. So after I competed for the title of Miss Louisiana in 2015, I told myself, nope, I'm done. I'm gonna do college. I'm gonna finish playing volleyball before I start to compete again, because I really just wanted to close that chapter of my life before I started doing something else. So I graduated college in the fall of 2017, and I was like, okay, now I can finally try and do Miss Louisiana again. So the following year, 2018, I actually went back to the Miss Baton Rouge pageant to compete as a Miss this time. And I ended up getting first runner-up. And I was really bummed about that because my sister was Miss Baton Rouge. So having the title of Miss Baton Rouge was something that was like super important to me at that time. And I didn't get it. So it was kind of just like, okay, where do we go from here? I knew that I still wanted to compete at Miss Louisiana. So me and my sister decided that I would just do what's called competing at large, which is where you can just buy your title, whatever title you want, as long as it's not taken, and go and compete for Miss Louisiana. So I did that, bought a title. I was Miss North Shore that year, and paid my registration fee, went on to compete for Miss Louisiana USA in 2018. Again, I made the top 16, but I didn't get any further than that. So after my name didn't get called for the top 10, I remember going back into the dressing room and just being very down on myself and like, man, like what did you do that wasn't right? Like why didn't they pick you to be in the top 10? And I had to realize that it just wasn't my time and it wasn't meant for me that year. So once the pageant was over, I had a really big decision to make. I could go back and compete again this year, or I could just forget about pageants and focus on being in graduate school, focus on my modeling career, and just kind of push pageants away. I was really struggling with, should I compete again or should I just kind of let this go and see what other endeavors I can take in life, you know? Because at that point I was like, I don't know if this is for me. So I told myself if I was going to compete for Miss Louisiana USA in 2019, two things had to happen. One, I had to win a prelim competition. I could not compete at large again because your girl was broke after that. I had zero money. So I was like, if I compete, I have to win a prelim. And two, I have to compete with my natural hair. The past two times I competed, it was with straight hair. I had clip-ins and I was trying to be this perfect pageant girl that I thought the judges wanted me to be. For me, I wanted to know that even if I didn't win, while being truly, completely myself, I would be okay because I knew that I wouldn't have any regrets. The past two times I competed, I questioned myself so much, and it was like, well, should I have worn my natural hair, or should I have done this, or should I have done that? And competing for me this year, I was like, I don't want to ask myself that anymore. I don't want to have any regrets. I don't want to leave anything up to chance. So I wanted to compete my way and be comfortable in doing that. And I needed to surround myself with people who would support me in doing that. Because in past years, I had pageant coaches who would tell me, oh no, you don't need to compete with your natural hair, or you need to do this, you need to wear this, and you need to do this color. And it was just so many thoughts and opinions, and I just wanted to genuinely be Mariah. That was it. I didn't want to think like, am I wearing the right outfit? Am I choosing the right dress? Am I saying the right things? Like, I just wanted to be me and show that to the judges and show them my heart. So with that being said, I was wearing my natural hair, point blank, period, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And the other thing was I had to win a preliminary competition. So I decided that I was going to compete for the Miss Lafayette title. So I went and I did that, and I competed with some amazing girls, and I ended up getting second runner-up. And boy, was that a bummer. I was like, no, this was my one and only chance of like getting my bid to Miss Louisiana, like without having to pay for anything. So I was very, very upset. I was having a conversation with Shelby, my sister, and I was like, Shelby, like, I don't know if I should still be doing this. It was a matter of money and like paying for it, and I didn't want to ask my dad for any more money to put into this because he had already invested so much into me. My modeling career was starting to take off at the beginning of this year, and I was in graduate school, and it was just a lot happening. And so I was just like, I don't know if this is for me. Like, maybe not winning this title is God telling me do something else. Like, this is not what I have for you. And so it was funny because my dad would always say that he had a dream that one of his daughters would compete for Miss America. And we all in my family just knew that it was going to be Shelby because like she was the pageant girl. But then I started thinking, well, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the one who's supposed to compete for Miss America. And so me and my sister were having that conversation of like our dad having this dream. And we were like, girl, maybe we in the wrong system. Like, maybe we need to switch over to the America system. Like, maybe this is God telling us USA is not it. Like, this is not the route you need to go. So it was so funny because I was actually going to compete for Miss Southeastern, which is a title in the America system, and go compete for Miss Louisiana America this year. It's so crazy, y'all. Like, I was literally not going to compete at Miss Louisiana USA this year. If I would have won Miss Southeastern, then that means I would have gotten my tuition paid for like 2 semesters or something, I think. And I was already in my graduate assistant job, like getting my tuition waived. So I was like, I can just pocket this money and like save it and have some money left when I get out of school. So like that was the plan. After I lost Miss Lafayette USA, I was going to compete for Miss Southeastern and like get that scholarship money and just like finish school and be done with pageants forever. So a few weeks go by and the Miss Baton Rouge pageant director ends up emailing me and my sister, and she's like, hey, the Miss Baton Rouge pageant is coming up. Just wondering if Mariah wanted to compete. And I was like, no. But she just kept asking and she kept asking, and eventually she told me that there was only one other girl signed up. And I was like, you know what? If there's only one girl signed up, I'll do it. So I ended up signing up to compete. It was me and one other girl, and I ended up winning the title of Miss Baton Rouge. And again, you know, this title, it was super important to me because 1, it was the first title I ever competed for in my first pageant, and 2, my sister was Miss Baton Rouge. So having this title, I was happy with it. So I won Miss Baton Rouge, and now it's like, okay, girl, well, you're going to Miss Louisiana USA again. After you just said you weren't gonna do this, like, here you are. So the next day after I won the title of Miss Baton Rouge, I was actually in Mississippi for a volleyball camp. And Miss Paula, who was the Miss Louisiana USA director, she calls me and she's like, hey, congratulations on winning your Miss Baton Rouge title, blah, blah, blah. Like, we're so excited to have you come back and compete. And she was telling me that someone had already reserved the title of Miss Baton Rouge. And I was like, really? Are you kidding me? So now I had to think of what title I wanted to go compete as at Miss Louisiana USA, since somebody decided that they wanted to go and reserve my title before I had even won. I was in my hotel room that night just like trying to think of names that I wanted to compete as. Initially, I ended up going with Zachary because time was going by and I couldn't think of any other name that I wanted to compete as. I'm from Zachary, I live in Zachary, I went to Zachary High, whatever. And then one day, out of the blue, it hit me. And I was like, Greater Baton Rouge. And so I emailed the lady and I was like, hey, I'm changing my title from Zachary to Greater Baton Rouge. Is it available? And she was like, yes, it's available. And I was like, yes, I have it. So I went to compete at Miss Louisiana with the title of Miss Greater Baton Rouge. So I had my title. I knew I was going to compete at Miss Louisiana, but now I needed some doggone good coaches. Me and my sister both said that since we knew this was going to be my last time competing, we needed to find the best of the best. Just so again, I don't have any regrets and like, oh, I wish I would have worked with them, or I wish I would have, you know, whatever. My sister, she is like the research pageant queen. She ended up finding this woman in Alabama. Her name is Coach Terry Bolin. I love you if you're watching this. We decided that we were gonna work with her. She had a lot of winners under her belt in Alabama, and Alabama is also one of our sister states. So I was like, this is perfect. Like, we could just go to Alabama like once or twice, learn my routine, get some coaching, and have that be that. So me and Shelby drove 6 hours to go and work with this pageant coach. When I won the title of Miss Baton Rouge, everyone obviously knew that I was competing at Miss Louisiana. And so like whenever they would ask me about it, they would be like, oh, like, how do you think you're gonna do? And I would always tell them like, oh, I'm gonna win this year. Every time somebody would ask me something about it, or I was just thinking about it, I'd just be like, y'all, like, I'm going to win Miss Louisiana USA. Like, it's going to be me. So when I went to go and see Coach Terry for the very first time, The moment she saw me, she said, "You're gonna win Miss Louisiana USA." And I said, yes, I am. And it was just crazy, like, for me to have that feeling and then to have someone else, without even knowing me, validate that. I was like, whoa, this is like crazy, you know what I'm saying? So I go and I work with her, and we stay out there for 2 days and we drive back. And at the time, I don't know if you guys watch Transformation Church, but I'm a part of Transformation Nation, and Pastor Mike Todd had started this series called Crazy Faith. And I was watching the first episode, and he was talking about how God had gave him this vision that he was going to buy this big like event center and turn it into the church, and like all of these things. And as he was going through, he pulled out this piece of paper. I'm like getting chills thinking about this. He pulled out this piece of paper, and it had the name of the event center that he was supposed to buy, and like all of these other list of things that God said was going to happen for him and for his church. Long story short, they ended up buying the event center. It was just this beautiful, crazy moment of like writing something down, praying to God about it, and like having it come into fruition. And so he was just saying how he needed to write that down, like he needed to have that visual. And even though people thought he was crazy because like this was this big, huge event center and like nobody would ever want to sell it to a church, like he never let that faze him. He always knew in the back of his mind that he was going to get that event center because God told him that was going to happen for him. So after I had watched that, I was like, man, I need to do a vision board. Like I was just so fired up on faith. I was like, I need to do a vision board, and I need to like remind myself of this every single day that like this is going to happen for me. So I was at work one day and I just started creating this vision board, and I'll insert a picture for you guys. And I put my headshot in the middle of the page, and it had Miss Louisiana USA 2020 across the top. And I had the crown on top of my head. And I added some other stuff in there, just while I was in the mood of like figuring out what I wanted to do with the rest of this year and even some into the next year. And I looked at it and I said, yep, this is gonna happen. But you have to put in the work. Like it was always that reminder of all of these things are possible and achievable for you, but you have to put in the work to get there. After I created this vision board, and after, I listened to the Crazy Faith series for a little bit, my sister ended up finding this interview coach out of Houston, Texas. And she was like, we have to go work with her. Like she is the best of the best. We have to go. So we drove 4 hours to Houston, Texas to go meet with this amazing interview coach, Coach Kelly Sargent. If you're watching this, I love you. So anyways, we go there, and she's prepping me for my interview, and just kind of giving me this formula of like how to answer questions. She's asking me these questions about myself, like, why do you want to compete? Like, why are you doing this? And I would say, because I want to inspire girls to have confidence in themselves and blah blah blah. And she was like, no. And I was like, what? She was like, no, that is a very pageant answer. She was like, that can be your answer, but you have to dig deeper within yourself and truly figure out, why are you doing this? She was like really pushing me to like dig deeper into myself and really evaluate, like, why am I doing this? Like, what is my purpose of being Miss Louisiana USA, honestly and truly? This first session we had with her was very emotional for me because she was pulling out a lot of strings that I forgot about, and that was just dealing with my own self-confidence issues and like not being confident in my hair and like trying to fit into this mold and being at this predominantly white school and trying to fit in, you know what I'm saying? And so she really pulled that out of me, and I really got to the source of like why it was so important for me to, one, compete with natural hair, but also just to compete as a Black woman in general. She was like, that's what the judges want to see. They want to see you be real, and they want to see you be raw. Like they can see from a mile away what a rehearsed answer looks like. But if you just speak from your heart and like truly explain to them why you're here, like they will connect with you on a much personal, humanized level other than a judge and a contestant. After we finished our session, she looked at me and she said, you're gonna win this title. Like, I just feel it. I know you are. And I said, you know what? You're right. I am gonna win. And like, just having, again, that validation, like, yes, I had that feeling I was gonna win, but getting that validation from someone else, it was like, yes, like, this is it. In talking with Coach Kelly, she ended up telling us about this amazing modeling coach, which was also in Houston, Texas. And so Shelby was like, yep, we're gonna go work with her too. Shelby was not playing. Like, I'm telling you, when we said we was working with the best of the best, like, we meant it. We ended up going to visit her at like 8 o'clock at night, and we didn't finish our lesson until like 10 something. But I go, and y'all, this modeling coach, her name is Mariah as well, and she is, like, there are no words to describe her. Like, she is just amazing, and she helped me so much with my walk and my confidence. We went and worked with her, and she was just like, Mariah, you have to go out there and you have to kill it. And like, yes, you have to kill it in an interview, but once you finish that interview and you make that top 15, like, you have to kill it on the stage, and you have to exude that confidence. And she really gave me the keys that I needed in order to like pull that out of myself. So Coach Terry, Coach Kelly, and Coach Mariah were the dream team for me in making this successful. They all believed in me. They all had that same gut feeling that I had, that, oh, this girl is going to win. You know what I'm saying? And that was so important to me, because I needed to surround myself with people who connected with my vision and connected with who I was as a person, and who would tell me, hey, like, you need to get your stuff together. Like, that's not a good answer, or your walk is poo. Like, they really kept it all the way real with me and made sure that I was going out there and presenting the very best version of myself. I could not have asked for a better team of people. I could not have imagined working with anybody else throughout this year in preparing for Miss Louisiana. So, okay, enough rambling about like random stuff. Let's get to the meaty, juicy part, which is the real Miss Louisiana USA pageant, like the weekend, okay? The competition was the 18th and the 19th, which is a Friday, Saturday, and me and my sister actually drove out there Thursday night. Well, you know, knowing my sister, she of course wanted me to go over my walk a few more times. We go into this dance studio and I'm practicing my walk like literally 5 hours before we have to like go get packed and like drive to New Orleans. I'm running through my walk, y'all, and I kid you not, there was just this demon over my spirit. Like, it was literally a demon. I was practicing my turns and like everything, and I couldn't hit it. And I was like, in my head, like, Mariah, you have done this a million times over. Like, why can't you do this walk? And, you know, my sister was just kind of like, she was pushing me really hard. And she already be getting on my nerves sometimes, because I feel like she just always be up in my business. But I love you, Shelby, and I know that it's out of love. So, and I mean, she was really just like, Mariah, like, what are you doing? Why can't you do this? Like, you've done this a million times. Why are you getting so into your head now? And I just got really emotional. One, because my period was starting, so I was already hella emotional. But two, it was just like, I was so in my head, and I had let this spirit jump on my back, and I started doubting myself, like, oh my God, like, the weekend is here. Like, do you really think you're gonna win? Like, you're going up against all these girls, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, all of these things just running through my mind. And my sister looked at me and she said, Mariah, oh my God, I'm getting emotional. Stop it. She looked at me and she said, Mariah, you have come too far to like let this stop you now. She was like, don't let this doubt creep into your mind now. Like, you have been so confident this whole way through, telling everybody like you're gonna win and this is your year and blah, blah, blah. Like, don't let this moment now be the deciding factor of what's gonna happen for you this weekend. So we finished, you know, running through rehearsals. We went home, we packed, and, you know, we made sure everything was good to go, and we drove to New Orleans that Thursday night. And we wake up Friday morning and it's time for registration. So we go downstairs for registration, and, you know, I'm interacting with all the girls and the people, and I get my sash or whatever, and we go back upstairs because we had a few hours before we had to go to orientation. And Shelby is like, you need to like be more energetic and like more like happy. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I am happy. Like, I'm being me. She was like, you're being monotone Mariah right now. And I was like, what do you mean I'm being monotone Mariah? Like, no, I'm not. Like, I was just interacting with all these girls and blah, blah, blah. And we got into this really big argument. And again, like, this was just a spirit that was on me, and the devil just trying to like make me mad at my sister, because the devil knew I needed my sister to get through that weekend. Like, he knew that, and he was trying to put a wedge between us ever since that Thursday night. I was just like, I'm so sorry. Like, I know you're just trying to help me, and like I need to pay more attention, because like you can see what I can't see. And even if I feel like, oh, I'm being bubbly and like happy, maybe I'm really not. After that, me and my sister were pretty good for the rest of the weekend. So we go to orientation, and they go over some stuff with us, and we actually were able to meet and talk with 2 of our judges. One, which was Chesley Chris, the current Miss USA, and 2, her name is Allie Landry. She was Miss Louisiana USA 1996, and she went on to win Miss USA that year. Chesley comes out first, and she's drop dead beautiful, and she's explaining, like just have fun, embrace the moment, and all these other things. And then Allie Landry comes out, y'all. She's just talking about how like when she went to compete for Miss USA, like she knew that she was going to win. She had just felt it in her spirit. And I looked at Shelby and I was like, yo, like that's crazy. Like that's exactly how I feel, you know what I'm saying? And so then she keeps talking, and she's just like, what I'm looking for tomorrow in interview is for a girl who's going to be 100% authentically herself. And when she said that, I looked at Shelby and I said, oh my God, Shelby, like that's exactly what I wrote on my bio. She was just saying all of these like words that were on my bio, or things that I had already thought in my mind, and like feelings that I had already had. And I was just like, oh my God, like this is God. I was like, y'all, I got some favor over my life. Like this is nobody but God. Like how there was no other way possible for that to line up like that for me. It might not mean anything to you, but like sitting there in that moment, it was just like God was winking at me. Like, yep, girl, you got this, don't worry. And so later that night, we had the prelim competition. I was so calm backstage. I wasn't nervous at all. I was just really calm. And that was so new for me, because every other time I competed, I was so anxious, and I was so like trying to run through my routine backstage and like making sure that I could hit this and this. And this year I was just like, I'm just gonna go out there and I'm just gonna be myself. And that's exactly what I did. I go to sleep and I wake up and it's interview day, and it's usually the most nerve-wracking day for me. Like I get so much anxiety thinking about interview, because I'm just like, oh my God, what do I have to say? Like I have to say this perfect answer all the time. And again, I woke up that morning and I was just so calm. Like it was just like the peace of God was over me. Shelby calls me and she's like, do you need to run through any questions? And I was like, no, I don't really want to like think too much about what I want to say. I just want to speak from my heart. She's like, okay. And I said, but you can pray for me. And so, she prayed for me, and, she just said, let the judges see my heart, let them see who I really am. And, like that's genuinely all I wanted. I just wanted them to see Mariah Clayton and who she is and what she stands for. So I go into interview, and it's round robin. So there's 5 judges, and you spend 2.5 minutes with each judge. Once I finished interviewing with all of the judges, I just felt so good. I called my sister. Y'all, I'm gonna cry. Oh my God. And I said, Shelby, I just had the very best interview I've ever had in my life. And she started screaming, and she's like, what? And like I just started crying, and I was like, Shelby, I honestly don't even care like what happens tonight. I said, I don't care. Like I went in there, I showed the judges who I was real, I was authentic, I showed them my heart, I was 100% me. I wasn't trying to be this person, and I just felt so comfortable in that moment. And I was just telling her, I was like, it doesn't even matter. Like whatever happens tonight, nothing matters, because whether I win or whether I lose, I already know that like I am happy with what I have done today. After interview, I was really just chilling for the rest of the day. We went through rehearsal, we started getting ready backstage, and it was time for the show. I got called into the top 15. I was super happy and excited. I ran to go put on my swimsuit. And so after swimsuit, I ran and put on my evening gown. And we're backstage, just kind of waiting until the teens finish so we can go and compete in an evening gown. And I just remember being backstage and just saying to God, like, if this is it, I'm gonna be okay. Like if I don't make the top 10, I'm gonna be okay. And so we go out there and get ready for evening gown, and I'm the very first person to get called in the top 10. And I was just like, what? what? Like, your girl made it to the top 10, what? Okay. And after I competed in the evening gown, I go backstage and I say, Lord, if this is it, I'm okay. Like, I'm really okay. We go and do our lineup to be called for the top 5, and I'm like the second person to get called into the top 5. And I was just like, oh my God, this is happening. I competed in my onstage question and I felt really good about my answer. You know, I answered the question. It was short, it was sweet, to the point. I got my butt off that stage. After the onstage question, we do what's called a final look, which is like a moment where we all walk out on stage individually and like have our moment in the spotlight. And so when it was my turn to walk out, I go out there and I'm like in my pageant pose, standing in front of the judges, and I'm just looking out. I'm gonna cry. I'm looking out and I hear my family screaming for me, and my twin sisters specifically, you know, they're like, go Mariah. And on that stage, I just started crying. I couldn't help but cry because it was just like, it was just like I had made it. And I knew that they were watching me, and like that is so important to me because I only want to be the best example that I can be for them. And like, they look up to me so much, and just hearing them, you know, cheer for me, it made my little heart melt. I was like, stop, Mariah, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. And I tried to hold my tears back until like the lights dimmed, but I was a wreck. And so I went and I left off the stage, and I'm like, oh my God, Mariah, like, you're such a baby, stop it, like, you have to stop crying. We go and, you know, they do the auxiliary awards and they announce the teen winner, and then it's our turn for the miss. So we all decided to hold hands with each other. I'm standing on that stage and my eyes are closed, and I'm just praying the whole time. And I'm like, Lord, if this is it, like, I'm gonna be okay. Like, if I don't win, it's okay. So they called the 4th runner-up. It wasn't me. And then they called the 3rd runner-up, and it wasn't me. And they called the 2nd runner-up, and it wasn't me. And so here I am standing with this girl who I love. Jordan, I love you if you're watching this video. Oh, I don't want to cry. I'm gonna mess up my makeup. Stop it. And I'm just standing there and I'm holding hands with her. And I start praying and I say, Lord God, I thank you for this moment. I thank you for Jordan. And like, I just pray whoever you bless the crown with, that they, you know, have a good reign and they use it for your glory. And, you know, she prayed for us, and there was just this long moment of silence. And at this point, I'm just thinking about like all the times I envisioned this moment in my head, all the dreams that I had, all the times where I was literally like shaking, crying in my car, just envisioning this moment that was happening right now. I had envisioned that moment so many times, just standing there, and like, here I was, hand in hand, head to head with this other amazing, beautiful woman. And there's some time that goes by, and the MC says,
Greater Baton Rouge, Mariah Clayton.
It was like I could believe it, but I couldn't believe it. Like all those times where I envisioned that moment in my head, and like feeling the sash covering my body, and like feeling the crown get on top of my head. Like, I had envisioned those moments, and for it to like finally be happening, it was just so crazy. And I couldn't do anything but stand on that stage and praise God, because I knew He did this for me. I knew it. And I had felt it all along, all the way back in July. I felt it and I knew it. And so for it to like really happen, I honestly couldn't believe it. I literally blacked out. Like, I don't even remember. I just remember throwing up my hands and like crying. I could not stop crying. I knew that I had shown the judges who I really was, and that was enough, you know? All those other times of like trying to hide behind this persona and like be somebody who I truly wasn't. And all along, you know, I only needed to be myself. That was the key to me winning. It was just the most crazy, beautiful, indescribable moment. This is just a lesson for me in knowing that timing is everything. Last year when I competed, I was so upset when I didn't win. And I was questioning, like, why didn't they pick me? Why? And it's just because it wasn't my time. And I had to realize that timing is everything, and God's timing is perfect. He cares about me. He cares about my hopes. He cares about my dreams and my aspirations and my goals. And like, he proved to me that as long as I keep him first and as long as I stay true to who I am, he will give me all the desires of my heart. That for me is the biggest lesson that I learned throughout that whole process was I have to keep God first and I have to stay true to myself. And I will get the things that I want in life. And it may not happen right then and there. Like, it didn't happen for me last year. It didn't happen for me the first time I competed for Miss Louisiana either. But eventually, it will happen. And as long as you can believe it and feel it and manifest it, you can have it. As long as you pray and you keep that relationship with God and you stay true to who you are, like, you can literally do anything you want in this life. And so for me now, the next journey is Miss USA. And honestly, I can't sit here and tell you that I have that same feeling that I had when I went into Miss Louisiana. And who's to say that I won't have that feeling in a couple of months, you know? Right now, I am just so open to the experience, and I am so grateful to have this title and to have this platform and to be an inspiration to people, not only in like just my city, but my entire state. And just knowing that I can have an impact and be a voice for the community and be a role model that young girls can look up to and envision themselves in my shoes. That is important to me. God has given me this, you know, he's trusting me with this. And I have to make sure that I treat it with the utmost care and that I'm doing it for him and for his glory and not for my own merit. You know what I'm saying? That's my story. The history, how I got into pageants, and my whole entire journey to Miss Louisiana USA this year. This was God. Nobody but God. I'm so thankful to God for this journey. I'm so thankful to my sister for pushing me to do my first pageant, for seeing something in me that I hadn't even seen in myself. I couldn't have asked for better timing. I couldn't have asked for a better support system. I couldn't have asked for a better team to work with. And God just lined everything up so perfectly for me throughout this year. And I know that he's going to continue to do that throughout my reign and throughout my time competing at Miss USA and throughout my entire life. So I know that I don't have any worries in the world, and I'm just enjoying the experience and being grateful for every opportunity that I'm given. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it inspired you in some way, shape, or form. If you have not, you need to go watch the Crazy Faith series from Transformation Church and Pastor Michael Todd, because I promise you it will change your life and it will change your way of thinking. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.